PayPal, the day we've all been waiting for. The new PayPal CEO has been announced. I want to take you guys through who this gentleman is. I want to take you through some of his background. I want to share with you my perspective on this move. Do I like the move? Do I not like the move? Do I think there was much better people out there? What are my thoughts around all that? And then lastly, we'll talk in this video about if this changes any of my conviction in regards to stock. This has been the number one stock I'm buying right now, right? And I've said I can plan to continue to buy this stock almost every single week throughout the remainder of this year, if not into 2024, right? And so does today's move change my opinion in a negative manner, positive manner, or does it make no difference? Okay, so yeah, a lot to get into. I appreciate everybody being subscribed to the channel. Thanks so much for being here, folks, okay? The big day has finally come. So Intuit's Alex Chriss named new PayPal CEO. Alex Chriss, the executive who runs the small business and self-employed group at Intuit, is a new CEO of PayPal. So he, you could argue he's anywhere between the number 2 and the number 5 at Intuit, okay? Meaning the second most to maybe fifth most important person literally at Intuit, okay? Obviously, it depends on what perspective you really want to look at, but nonetheless, he's a very, very important executive at Intuit, okay? Now, Chriss will take over PayPal's long-time CEO Dan Schulman's spot, obviously beginning September 27th. Schulman became a PayPal CEO after the split from eBay in 2015, and he announced a plan to step down from the role by the end of the year. Now, before we go further here, okay, obviously we're closing out a chapter with Dan Schulman. My opinion on Dan Schulman is I think he did a really good job. I really do. Obviously the stock price has done horrible the past 2 years, but if you look at where PayPal's revenues, profitability, margins, just about everything has gone since he obviously took over in 2015 there, I mean, it's impressive. It's very, very impressive. So the stock price hasn't reacted well, obviously, the last couple of years. But other than that, the man's numbers were pretty dang impressive. And even to recently, very respectable numbers, okay? PayPal's new CEO will be Alex Chriss, the executive who runs a small business and self-employed group at Intuit. Chriss will take over for PayPal's current CEO, obviously Dan Schulman, right? He had announced a plan to step down from the role by the end of the year. He will remain a director at the company until May 2024. So he's kind of hanging around for a bit, which I think can be nothing but helpful, okay? Now, we got to talk about the elephant in the room, okay? The elephant in the room is, why did this take so long? My answer to that is, I'm sure there was a lot of pretty good candidates. I mean, if you're talking about being the PayPal CEO, there's probably not a more attractive role out there right now that's an open role in the public markets. That's the creme de la creme, at least for an open role right now, right? You could always say, well, what about being the CEO of Apple or Microsoft or Meta? Of course. But the problem is those aren't open roles right now, okay? Satya Nadella is not going anywhere from Microsoft anytime soon. Zuckerberg's not leaving from Meta anytime soon. So of actual, real opportunities you could have to work somewhere, this is the number one, in my opinion, out there right now. And I track all the biggest companies. There's no more attractive role than this. So nonetheless, you're going to want to make sure you take your time. You go through everybody and you pick the one that you're for sure this is their best guy, right? I am proud to take the baton from Dan and thrilled to have the opportunity to work with PayPal's talented and committed team to build on PayPal's remarkable history and draw on its unique capabilities to deliver outstanding products and services to business and consumers. So obviously we're not getting anything from Chriss in regards to strategy moving forward, as we shouldn't. When you're just about to come in as CEO next month, right? You shouldn't already be giving out your whole strategy playbook and things like that. That will come in time. Over the next several months, we'll get a lot more info on what Chriss is up to, what his plans are with the company, and where he wants to take this, this company over time. Okay, PayPal's board said Chriss was chosen for the role out of a pool of 9 candidates. 9 candidates they actually took serious, essentially. Okay, the selection process began in February. That's a long process. Okay, the board members said they were impressed by Chriss' leadership at Intuit. And by the way, PayPal is a very impressive board of directors, one of the more impressive ones you'll find out there, okay? Was impressed by Chriss' leadership at Intuit. Now, this is very, very intriguing, okay? Particularly as he steered the company through its $12 billion acquisition of marketing platform MailChimp, okay? That's very telling, and we'll come back to that in just a moment. I think that's so important what they just stated there, and I'll explain why in just a moment, okay? Members of the board also met with more than 20 investors, the big money folks, okay, for approval, including activist investor Elliott Management, while conducting the search for a new CEO. Last summer, Elliott Management accumulated an undisclosed stake in PayPal. The board members said the firm had no role in the search, right? But clearly, PayPal's board of directors taking this really serious in terms of making sure the investors of PayPal, right, the current investors, are happy with this move. And obviously, PayPal investors haven't been very happy the past 2 years. Look at their stock price, right? That's going to tell you how happy or unhappy the investors have been, okay? Now, why is this, basically sentence right here so important? The board members said they were impressed by Chris's leadership at Intuit, particularly as he steered the company through a $12 billion acquisition. The reason that matters so much, okay, is why are they so impressed by an acquisition? It almost makes you think, is this a company that thinks they might need to do some acquisitions, okay? When you specifically state that, like that's something you're looking for, right? It clearly, in my opinion, at least gives a little bit of a tell that the board might be thinking they might, PayPal might need to do an acquisition or two over time. We do know that PayPal tried to make an acquisition, this was a few years ago now at this point in time, with Pinterest, and that fell through, and I'm definitely not against that falling through, let's put it that way. And so there was that whole situation, right? And so it's very telling that the board said, you know what? We like a guy that doesn't just come from a great company, that just doesn't just have, a lot of experience doing great things, being a high-level executive, but we also want a guy who pulled off a major acquisition like that. That's intriguing, very, very intriguing, right? Now, I went to the actual press release because other stuff was from CNBC. I wanted to find a little more details here, and this is interesting. Chris joined Intuit 19 years ago, serving in increasing levels of leadership across the company, including creating Intuit's partner and developer platform, leading the self-employed solutions team, and then serving the small business group's chief product officer from 2017 to 2019. During that time, he oversaw and implemented multiple strategic initiatives that transformed business inside Intuit into sustainable growth engines for the company. Quote, with his depth of experience in product development, his passion for serving customers, and his long-standing commitment to empowering and enabling small businesses, and his proven track record of developing and inspiring his team, Alex is a perfect leader to take PayPal forward and accelerate the company's growth opportunities, said the chairman of the board for PayPal. The board search committee worked diligently and thoroughly to find the right candidate to take PayPal into the next stage of growth and expansion, and we are confident Alex is that person, they say. Okay. Now, if we think about Intuit, right? Intuit, one of the most amazing companies, certainly in the public markets in the world. Like in the business model Intuit's built over the past couple decades is remarkable, right? And obviously, Chris was a huge part of building out Intuit over time, right? In taking more and more higher and higher, leadership roles with the company. And if we think about Intuit, it's very much a business focused on numbers, right? Intuit's not some company that's just, wants to deal with some big, large corporation, right? If anything, Intuit's like against that, right? Intuit wants to have, as many small, like if you start a small business, Intuit wants you using their product, right? And in QuickBooks and everything they got going on. TurboTax, like everything, right? MailChimp, everything, right? So Intuit's really focused on that. And if you think about PayPal is really a numbers game as well, right? On the Braintree side, sure, they have some major, huge companies, some like Fortune 500 companies they work with, right? But at the end of the day, when it comes to PayPal, they're very focused on big numbers, right? They have 400 million plus users. They got a lot of small businesses that use PayPal for different transactions, to send money, especially to folks that might do work, independent contractors outside of different countries and things like that, right? And so PayPal is a very complicated business. It's a very complex business. Everybody thinks they can just duplicate that, and they try and they fail. And at the end of the day, it's a scaled out business that's very large, and it's a numbers game for PayPal, right? It's a numbers game. And so clearly, the board's looking at this and they say, we want a numbers focused man, right? Now, you're ready to see Intuit's stock price over the time that this gentleman has worked for the company, right? be ready to be shocked, okay? Basically, Intuit's stock price has gone up about 2,600% or so since this gentleman worked for Intuit, obviously, right? Intuit's been an absolute rocket ship of growth and just steady growth year after year after year after year, and building into just, obviously, an incredible company. I've owned Intuit stock in the past. It's one of the best companies you can possibly invest in usually. It trades at a richer valuation. That's something you have to deal with, right? But like the stock price speaks for itself, right? So here we have a very interesting dynamic, right? Where we go to this gentleman, he comes over from an A company, okay? He's an A player. You don't rise to the ranks he rose to without being an A player. So he's an A player working for an A company. That creates a superhero, okay? It's very, very special. If you can have an individual that's an A player work for an A company, it's very special. And it's an A stock. How many stocks have had that sort of performance over the years, okay? There's definitely some out there, but there's not a lot. Like those are very, very special companies. So he knows what it takes to build a massive company into a company that is very respected by Wall Street, wants to give you a premium price tag on your stock price and have a stock price doing tremendous over the years. And if I had to guess, the man's made a lot of money from Intuit over time, right? Like if you are getting stock options all these years, right, as you rise the ranks, and your stock goes up 2,000+% over the time you are an employee there, right? I'm going to say he's probably made a fortune. Now remember what I told you guys. I said PayPal is $1 billion opportunity. If the CEO that comes in PayPal knocks out the ballpark for the next 5 years, based upon what they will likely get for stock options, and based upon what the stock price could do over the next 5 years, there's a potential to make $1 billion from this company, okay? A potential. And so we're talking about this is a life changer. If Chris can come in, get this company back to the glory days of a $300+ stock again, I mean, the amount of compensation he would make, and then when he would go to get his next contract, essentially, oh my gosh, it would be silly money. Like I said, this is a $1 billion opportunity. And how many $1 billion opportunities? Like usually, if you want to make $1 billion, you got to like start your own company and build into the next Meta or something crazy, right? The next Intuit, the next PayPal. Like you don't usually get those $1 billion opportunities from being a CEO of a company. This is a true $1 billion opportunity. And so I think this man sees like what PayPal can be, what its stock price can do, and probably is recognizing it. You know, this is a pretty extraordinary opportunity here. Okay. Now, O-Man actually sent me this today in a text, and I thought this was very interesting. This was on Twitter from this gentleman named Brad Freeman. Okay. Well, I guess it's called X now. Okay. I'm still calling it Twitter. I don't care. Okay. So it was very interesting, kind of reading through his perspective here. Okay. You know, why Chris is a good hire. Chris's background is in running small businesses and self-employed segment at Intuit. He spent 19 years in roles like Chief Product Officer, and he also worked for Microsoft in the past. While he wasn't the CEO of Intuit, he did lead a segment representing a third of the $140 billion enterprise's revenue. It was half of the revenue until the Credit Karma purchase, which Intuit bought. Credit Karma, right? As you can see below, this is Intuit's most promising organic growth bucket. Shulman met with nearly 24 key investors in the board of directors, including, right? And obviously he met with Elliott Management, all those, right? Interviewed several fintech and consumer bellwether CEOs, but thought his resume was the most compelling. And if you think about it, it makes sense. Why? Because Braintree has 3 margin levers to pull, and Chris is a man to pull them. Now, this is where things get pretty interesting here, okay, on these 3. First of the 3 is expansion into small and mid-sized businesses. Selling value-add software to small businesses is Chris's bread and butter. It is what he did with Intuit for products like QuickBooks and more. PayPal's marketing and loyalty programs are another key upsell channel, with Chris having experience there as well in MailChimp more later. His software-centric small and mid-sized business focus experience is ideal to say the least. The second margin lever is international expansion. Well, Chris led a segment full of financial services products offered in 170 countries. He inherently has a deep understanding of the sensitive, fragile, and complex relationships that global financial services firms must maintain with the regulators. He has been threading the needle for years and years. The third margin lever is upselling value-add software like Hyperwallet. Again, this is exactly what Chris did with Intuit. He should have a keen sense and a strong go-to-market for a highly attractive products. Taking the PayPal job hints at him seeing these products are truly attractive, 100%, right? And with him being into it, you could make an argument that, he might have been next in line to be the CEO of Intuit, to be quite frank, right? And for him to say, I'm going to bypass potentially being the next Intuit CEO because I want to be the PayPal CEO also speaks volumes about likely where he sees the biggest opportunity ahead, right? Because you're usually not going to go, if you're an A player working for an A company, you're not going to, go somewhere that you don't think's an A company with that sort of opportunity, right? And so him seeing that definitely is very, very telling in itself because, like I said, he could probably have been the next CEO of Intuit. It's very, very important that he made this strategic decision that I want to be the next CEO of PayPal rather than the next CEO of Intuit, okay? Now, in terms of me personally, what are my feelings around it? And then we'll talk about, the stock and things like that in just a moment, okay? But one last thing I just want to share with Intuit before we move to just focus on PayPal is Intuit is a company that commands very high PEs all the time, right? Which means it has respect. People look at Intuit and they say this is a very stable business model, and I don't mind commanding it a 30 forward PE because this is a sort of company that deserves my money, even if it trades at premium valuations. PayPal has no respect from Wall Street right now. And when I say no respect, I mean zero. The company trades at a forward PE based upon next year's numbers of 10. Of 10. For a company with PayPal's growth in their business segment, to trade at a forward P of 10 is laughable. It means you have no respect. So a big part of what Chris is going to try to come in and do is basically bring respect back to PayPal's stock in the company in general, right? Now, in my opinion, do I like the move? Do I not like the move? Surprisingly enough, I like the move. And the reason I like the move is for all the reasons we already listed before, right? But at the end of the day, think about it very logically. Here we have a gentleman that's an A player working for an A company. When you're an A player working for an A company, you become a superhero. You're not to be, it's hard to compete with you. If you're a B player or a C player in an A company, it is what it is, okay? If you're an A player working at a C company or a B company, you're not going to prosper like that. But he worked for an A company. And he's an A player to reach the sort of levels he needed to reach to, right? And for PayPal to take him off. And so, I look at this kind of like the way I used to look at like my career at Quick Trip, right? And, working at Quick Trip as a manager and at that particular position, right? I was an A player in an A company and I could go into any convenience store, gas station, or retailer and run it better than 99% of people because I was an A player in an A company, right? And so if I look at this man coming from Intuit, being at a super high level position, arguably the most important position at Intuit, other than the CEO role, right? This is an A player at an A company. I think he's going to do some pretty special things with PayPal over the coming years. Now, in terms of me with the stock price, this move today changes absolutely nothing, positive or negative. PayPal is still easy money stock, regardless of honestly who they announced as CEO today. They could have announced Barney as a CEO, okay? And it's still been an easy money stock. Like when you got a great company like PayPal trading at the valuation it's trading at with Braintree and Venmo, they could have probably announced anybody and it's still a steal deal, right? I'm excited for the opportunity this man presents and we'll see where things go. I don't want to get too excited too fast, but at the end of the day, it's an easy buy, man. Absolutely easy buy for me. Looks like my computer's all over the place. But anyways, I appreciate y'all joining me. Let me know what you guys think of the move. Love to hear from you as always. But yeah, I'm as bullish on PayPal as I've ever been. So appreciate y'all. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being subscribed. Pin comment down there. Investing in 2023 and beyond. I got a free workshop if you make less than 100K a year. Free workshop for you. If you make over 100K a year, I got a free workshop for you. That will be pinned comment down there. Much love and have a great day.